What's up? Welcome back for part 2 of Ray Arsenault's turbo Corvette build. We're going to finish up the passenger side header where we left off on part 1. We're going to move over to the driver's side header, and maybe we'll get the wastegates done also. Let's see. Header's going to fit in here. Looks pretty good. So, collector still meets up. So now I'll pull that one primary out and get it welded up. Back purged and welded out. A little wobbly tonight, kind of sick and a little tired. Most of the time I won't come out here and weld if it's like that, but I've been sick for a few days and I need to get some work done. Not too bad, just a little wobble in it. Hopefully it back purged all right. Let's see here. Yep, tighten this bad baby up a little bit. Yo. Oof. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can focus. No sugar. Decently penetrated. And I won't be able to see it. Yeah, no, can't see in there, but did pretty good. I'm happy with it. Now check that dude out. So what I was talking about earlier, we're just flat, and flat. This one I probably should have done some more trickery with, but you know what, whatever. Looks good. Look at that, it stands up by itself too. Boy, look at that. Just look at it. I like it because we got down, flipped in, down, flipped in. It's pretty neat looking, actually. Really happy with it. Really happy with it. So that from this point, I'm gonna tack this a couple times around, probably about 4 times. And then right in here, I'll tack, well, this is already tacked, but this one's tacked. I'll take this primary, the one I just finished, tack it in here, knock the collector off. I'll weld a star in there to seal that gap up. I'll probably just tap these corners in some because the collector doesn't fit very well. Tap these down farther in there and then weld it out, weld all the joints out.
He looked kind of pale, but then he felt kind of shimmy with his go-kart nose job. Gotta have a corn cob sitting on side curb, boo-hoo, sob. This day, that day, every day the same day, every day the same day. Can't be, no way. He woke up one morning, and what did he see? He saw a blind man trying to spit on me. Try.
Well, the time lapse was a little off focus, but you can see, get a pointer real quick. See right here, this is just a piece of stainless sheet I have. I cut these little star kind of shapes out. And so when the collector was on, I welded these 4 pipes together so they would stay oriented. And that also allows you to weld this star in here, and then from the star to that weld, and from that weld, the collector, when the collector's all the way on, say before I take the collector off, I mark it with a Sharpie all the way around. Once I put the collector back on, marking that with that Sharpie, then I weld it all the way around, it'll be totally sealed up because You're going from the weld, when the collector was on, you're going from this weld all the way around, and it's all the way sealed. So a lot of people think that your collector's on, you're welding all down inside of it or on the backside. A lot of people think, well, how do you seal up the backside? And this is it right here. It's pretty simple once you understand it. It confused the heck out of me when I was first getting going. So, but from here, what we'll do is put the collector on. And let's see, I'll put some lines so I can kind of see if it's where I took it off at. So here's my 2 lines there. Man, that's nice, because sometimes I gotta beat this sucker on there. So I line it up that with a couple of the tacks. So I'll tack the old tacks back, and then just kind of maneuver it around from there. I'll go ahead and throw a tack on this side. What are you doing over there? Coloring what? Oh. Alright, so from there, it's ready to do a little bit more welding. We'll put a cap in here. We'll put the purge block up against all that and see how it turns out. Alright, so after a little massaging, it fit pretty good. Give it a little bumperooski for measure. So what I'm gonna do from here is get my homemade purge block. Boom. Whoop. Got my nuts together. This one's got a 12 millimeter for some reason. Takes a 12 millimeter wrench. So this manifold, I made it. I bought this little block off the internet. Just, you can get raw cut material off of, it's like metals.com or something like that. And then I drilled, you know, I laid a LS header flange up there. I marked a circle, and then I drilled down about halfway, and then drilled this way about halfway, tapped these holes, and then I drilled, I marked and drilled for all of the hardware, tapped those, and these were just bolts that I just cut the head, you know, I screwed them down in there, let them bottom out, and then I cut the heads off. That way it's studded, and when I go to pull it out, it doesn't pull the studs out every time. And I just put these T's with a 90 and push barbs in between for this hose. I hook my back purge line up to it. Like so. Turn the gas on for a second to let the argon push the oxygen out. So I got the argon going. Argon is heavier than oxygen, so it's going to push the oxygen out. That's why you want to. So it would even get trapped in these kind of high spots because the level's going to be like right here. So just for a second, I'll hold it like this and let the argon fill this area up. So these are pretty sealed off. So I'm going to weld the most unsealed part first, which is the collector. in the time lapse you saw me, I had to beat this section in more around the pipes because it was more laid open like this. So I got to beat it in there like that, and what it does is it split it. It does it every time on this 2-inch, 2 to 3. It always, I have to close it up, and what it does, it splits a little bit. So I have to not only weld all the way around, I just have to weld up the split a little bit. It's no big deal.
Don't ever ask me why, ask why. Why do you ask me why? Blind, so blind. With blinded both eyes. Why, yes, why? Don't ever ask me why.
So there she is, right there. Hashtag hide no bad welds. Looks pretty radical. Looking pretty good in there. So this header is all the way done. It fits nice. Got nice, good room down in there. Everything looks pretty good. Should be able to get to the spark plug wires. Spark plug wires, real easy. Change the plugs out, no problem. So now, we'll take this. You know, if you didn't watch the other video, this is all I started out with. This and a collector. So there's the collector. Got the V-bend welded on it already. We're gonna bolt this up to the head flange, or the header flange to the head, and start just dropping pipes in. So those few cuts is the start of this first primary.
Knob-knee jacket, chin-grown toenail, breast-ache, hairy face, 1 foot right tail, hobnob, no job, corn cob junkie. Dropped out of high school, then became a flunky. I met this man, he had an honest face. He stole my wood, used to ruin my base. I started to think, and then I realized you learn a lot from a man who has red eyes. Try it, try. Don't ever ask me why, ask why. Why do you ask me why? Blind, so blind. It was blinded both eyes. Up, he found it hard to believe, and when he opened his eyes, it's even harder to conceive. A bubblegum story to a bubblegum day. I blew my bubble in a bubblegum way. Try it, try. Don't ever ask me why, ask why. Why do you ask me why?
So my time lapse didn't go. Forgot to hit record, rookie mistake. But got the wastegates welded up, and now fixing to, I got the gaskets on both sides. I got enough bolts to bolt the headers up. I got them, everything loose. About to clamp this piece in and tighten everything down. And then I actually going to go ahead and pull the turbo off first, make sure the Maven mount has a O-ring in it, and then put it back and put the whole turbo kit back on as far as the hot side. Okay, the only time you're gonna see my shop this messy is the final days, the countdown days before a build's done, because most of the time I'm rushing or being rushed, and so I just start to scatter, I get real excited. So basically, I gotta put a bung in this, put that on. I have this piece of charge pipe already built. I gotta put the blow-off valve and intake temp bung on it, but the headers are on for good. Gaskets, bolts, all the bolts are tight. V-bands are tight. V-band to here is tight. I checked the O-ring. I'm gonna redo this line. This is for the old setup. Turbo was farther back that way. I'm gonna redo it to make it run a little better. I changed this piece out. I still have to tighten it up. I changed this piece out with one that has 16A in bung already. I'm gonna weld this bung to here, but this requires a thermostat to seal, which I did not know that. So I'm gonna go get a thermostat tomorrow and gut it and use it just for the seal. And then I'll put that on there, right there. Then I have to mount that radiator right in this section right here. It's gonna be kind of in front of this. If it won't fit with the bumper right there, I'll notch this out and recess it up. But I cut this tab, this one right here on this side, I cut it off. It's kind of flush with this and everything. That radiator is going to sit right up in there. And I have 16A in bungs that screw into it. And I've got some 16A in hose and fittings over there. And it's going to be 2 lines. It's going to kind of run and snake to right there. It's going to be 2 little short lines. Bam, like that. We're gonna run this hose out of the expansion tank to one of these fittings down here on the bottom. And then the steam port will tie into another port on the front of the radiator, making it real nice and simple. But next, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna raise the car up and I'm gonna drill and weld this bung in the oil pan, because we had a bung right here in the timing cover, but the turbo was about 6 inches higher, 4 inches higher. And so right now, from the drain to that, it looks up a little bit. So I gotta go down to the pan to get the drain on the right angle. I also rebuilt the steering shaft because it was complete junk before. And so I welded a new steering shaft. Let's see if I can get the focus. I welded a new steering shaft to the old steering shaft, and it still has the telescoping piece, which is there for safety. So if you get in a front end collision, the steering shaft doesn't spear you into the chest. It actually, there's like 8 or 12 inches of compression in the steering column right here. So I left that piece in there for safety. And then this is like, there's a bushing here and a bushing here with this tube to hold it. And there's like a tube clamp, so it's a little billet aluminum piece that squeezes down to hold the tube. And I built a little bracket right here. It's a 2x2 square with a 2x2 square welded to it with a little gusset. Welded that to the frame, drilled a hole in it because the frame is aluminum. It was the 06 car. So I welded that to there and then just drilled a hole and bolted that to there. Got my steering joint. It's welded. Lined the wheels up the best I could, and I'll throw a little video up of it working with all this out of the way. It's just amazing how nice and rigid it is. Before, the steering was moving around, hitting the header and some other stuff. So we got the car up in the air. I had to drain the oil out a little bit because he had the car over full, just a hair, possibly, I don't know, but I drilled a hole, welded the bung with it on the car, everything will be fine. I put this fitting, where'd it go? Put this fitting on the end of that hose. And 'cause I knew I was gonna need a 90, and we're gonna put a 90 here. I have a piece of tape about where I'm gonna cut that. I always put a piece of tape to keep it from fraying. I cut it with some cable cutters, and it's hard to see, but it's gonna have a good little drain to it. It's not gonna be flat or nothing. So I'm gonna show you guys how I make my hose ends here in just a second, because it's super simple. A lot of people overcomplicate it and make it really hard, way harder than it's supposed to be. All right, so I'm gonna do my best to be real close to the camera so you can see how I do it. Like I said, I put the end I know needs to be on there. I hook it up to the turbo. I go over there to where it's hooked to the oil pan with this on there. And I know the hose needs to come to about right here because of the stop inside this fitting. And so I make a mark roughly right there. What I do is I take these cable cutters, get them from Home Depot. They're like 50 or 60 bucks, I don't remember. And just line it up here. And cut it a little crooked, but it'll be all right. It flattens it just a little bit, but you just come over here and squeeze it like that. Watch your fingers, because those pokies will get you. Unwrap it. Spin your hose end nut off of there. You're going to want to make sure all your frays are inside there. You just kind of push it on there. You don't want to push it so far that the hose and the wire starts to get on top of the threads, because then when you thread this piece onto there, it'll be digging into those threads. Then get you a set of these jaws right here. They're AN vice jaws. And this is what made AN hoses fun for me. So make sure your hose is in there the proper amount. WD-40, gotta have WD-40. Lube up the hole, lube up the threads a little bit. There it goes. Sometimes you gotta look down in the hole to see if the rubber's to the one side. You put the fitting, get the fitting to pop in there. It'll go right in there. So, oh my gosh, he's using a crescent wrench. Oh my gosh, versus a crescent wrench. And you want to stop turning as soon as that touches. You don't want to smoke it down, because it's super duper fine threads. They'll strip out or shear off like in a heartbeat. So, and that's it. The fitting's done. It's a swivel. Always get swivels. They sell a non-swivel. You don't want that, because if you get a non-swivel and your hose ends aren't lined up just right, then your line is going to be all tweaked and twisted. So no crescent or no AN wrench, just crescent wrench. A little nick, but you know what? It's a race car. It's gonna be all right. Over here, right through everything. See if you can see. You can see the bung I just welded in. Goes up to the turbo. Right up there. Looks good. Looks real good. This header also, man, check this header out. This header looks freaking dope from the bottom. It's very like snake-like looking, and this one's all super duper straight. Very streamlined looking. Look at this thing from the back. Everything looks better from the back, doesn't it? Look at that sucker from the back. Well, the oil feed line has turned out really nice. Runs along the back of the cross member there. Runs through the motor mount. Through a clamp right there. Into the oil cooler bypass, little block off piece right there. You can see it. We drill, this piece comes blocked off, cast it over. So what we do is we drill it and tap it, and that's where oil pressure goes, because there's a port in and out to an oil cooler and back. So it's way, that way it ain't gonna come loose and get up against the header or nothing. But the biggest, worst part of all of that, I took that line loose over there. See if I get this thing to focus. And when I took that line loose over there, I was standing here, didn't realize it. I had oil dripping all over my brand new shoes. Dang supers, man. All over. Oh well, oil line looks good. Nice and clean. Runs right there with the oil drain. Nice and out of the way. Just gotta tighten it up. And that's a wrap on that. This is what I do on a long night of work. Last day of the build. I'm just ready to go inside. Just gotta clean your mess up sometimes. You know, clean up after yourself every night. Make sure you're ready and fresh for the next day. All right, that's cleaned up. Car is finished for my part. All that's left to do is my favorite part. That's get paid, baby. My favorite part of the build. Building the car is pretty all right too. But that's it. All the fab work's done. Roscoe, be quiet. All the fab work's done. I did some trimming on the bumper down in the grill, because that bumper tries to wrap right here, and that grill has like an insert that goes way up in there, and so I just cut it where it's going to be for that. Hopefully I can talk him into coming back for some custom catch cans. I'd like to do an aluminum expansion tank, because it's busted. He got some JB Weld on it. I made this little mount for the radiator. It's welded. Where's my finger at? It's welded right there, right there, and right there, and it's welded down the side here and here to the radiator. And then I got it bolted through the other cross member. And then I just kind of picked it up with my knee, and this little bracket I built right here, I had it bolted up to this. I picked it up with my knee and welded it around just now. That is actually still hot. This had a filler neck, but we're not going to use it for that type of radiator because it's got an expansion tank. So I cut it off and plated it. And they run over there. You can see the oil feed and oil drain line. Like I said, I changed that fitting out with one that had a bung. I welded a 16 bung to the thermostat housing, which on this electric water pump, the thermostat is plumbed differently on the inside. The thermostat is actually in here. So this is hollowed out with just a thermostat gasket. They're gonna have to do a lot of cleaning up and fixing up. Make this car as nice as the fabrication that's done to it. Not to toot my own horn, but this sucker is minty. So that is going to be it for part 2 of Ray's Corvette build. Pro Mod turbo right there. It's really like a large frame bullseye power, but it's same size as a Pro Mod turbo. Go check those videos out. Up there, maybe, I don't know. So anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. Maybe we'll get some track time with it, I don't know. Hopefully it'll work out for him. He'll get it fixed up, tuned and everything, and maybe it'll come back for some more fab work. I hope it will. So that's it. Good luck to the customer. He's gonna come pick it up tomorrow. We did our part. I think we did a great job. It's like 11 o'clock on a school night, work night, something like that. And he wanted it done by Thursday, and it's Wednesday, so rock and roll, baby. We'll see y'all in the next one.